Welcome to the One Inside, an Internal Family Systems podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Sallenberger. On today's podcast, I chat with Frank Anderson about authenticity. Hey everyone. I'm so excited to chat with Frank Anderson. His new book, Transcending Trauma, has been out for a month or so, and he's done a few podcasts. And I wanted to talk to him about some things he hasn't really been talking about how he's doing and what's going on in his life. So, this is not just about trauma or his book. It's not about what's happening in the IFS world. Since Frank is an insider, every time I talk to Frank, I always want to know, give me the inside scoop. It's not about that. This is not about his workshops or about the IFS manual he wrote. This episode, the 99th episode, is about authenticity. We talk about the book, of course, and we talk about trauma, but mostly we talk about family, love, and connection, and their power to heal all of us. Frank says, love heals what trauma blocks. You can connect with Frank on Instagram, Twitter, and Clubhouse at Frank Anderson MD. Of course, I would love to connect with you at IFS Tammy on Instagram, Twitter, and Clubhouse. You can join the One Inside Facebook page, and you can get a free parts meditation from me when you go to tammysallenberger.com. Next week is episode 100. You can take a guess at who will be my special guest. Enjoy.
Hello.
Hello. You back in your office?
No,
Office?
I'm not going back.
Are you not going back? No.
Nope. I just leased it to somebody.
Did you really?
Yep.
Do you have parts up around that? Or I'm doing a thing with my hands. I'm like, ah.
The question is, do you have parts up around
I
there?
know, right? I guess I do.
Yeah,
Well, I have
I'm
a
so
really
clear.
cute office right downtown, and I love it. It's right on the river. It's super cute, and I love the building. And but I rarely go in. I only go in every once in a while, but I don't see clients there. I just work on the computer. And then we have a dog. We have this new dog, and I have a 10-year-old, and it's just easier to be home.
I see. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah. And I traveled so much before the pandemic that I just love walking upstairs. I've got a quiet space. I walk downstairs for like I just see people so much more, no more commute. And if I have a free hour for whatever reason, it's here. So yeah, and I'm cutting down on my private practice anyways. Like it's a place that I'm not growing at all. I need to do less and less of because of all the other stuff. So it just kind of, for me, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Well, and then you can build your life and do other things that you want to do, like talk to me and
exactly right.
write books and do trainings and
exactly. Yeah, that's where my life is heading. And so it just aligns, it aligns in that way. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're doing with your kids for the summer. Tell me about that.
Yeah, my oldest now is 17. Good Lord.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
Is working in a restaurant. Well, it's interesting. It's such a mixed bag because he's working in a restaurant. He's really into culinary. He wants to call it culinary school for college, and he's working in a restaurant. This week he's off of school, so full time he's working during the days and he's loving it. So he's kind of set. My youngest is in a here and there, but he's got a summer program. So his school goes 11 months out of the year.
Oh, wow.
It's a therapeutic school and they say no homework, but you go 11 months out of the year. So that's the trade-off. But he goes to their summer fun program also. So Frank
is putting that in quotes, summer fun.
Exactly. I mean, it's slow, like they do fun stuff. It's not all academic. Do you know what I mean? But it's still the structure and things like that. So they're pretty set. Like we're lucky. My husband stays home. So we don't also have oh my God, we have to find the next, which most people do, find the next 10 weeks of structured time. So I feel fortunate in that way, right?
Yeah, that's good. And is that going to shift as the kids get older? What's husband going
Yes,
to do?
totally. But it's so funny you mentioned that, Tammy, because what he's doing right now is studying for his finals. Like he went back to school to get his psych degree. And he does all the spiritual work, but he wants to ground it in theory. So
Mm.
he's going for his master's in psych. He's finishing his undergrad in psychology, and then he's going for his master's. So he's totally in that. All right, the kids are leaving. It's my turn, kind of thing. So we're
Yeah.
juggling these two worlds in a new way now, which is great. It really, especially with me being home more.
Yeah. It's a lot of
Because
transition for your family.
totally, totally, in a way that feels good. Like
Mm.
I don't have my first traveling gig until February of 22, interestingly
Wow.
enough,
That's great.
so
That's great.
yeah,
I
it's been
love
good.
that. Yeah. So then it's like you're more grounded during the transit. Like, so then things
Yeah,
can shift as
you
you're more
got it.
grounded and
I mean, maybe you know this already too. Like our life, our family versions change constantly. It's like, okay, we're here. Now we're
yeah.
here. It looks like,
Yeah.
it's becoming a new, another new normal, right?
Right. Well, that's what happens when they're babies, right? Like you're like, oh,
Yes.
we got used to this, and then we
Yeah.
got to change this, and then we got to change this, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It feels like it never really changes. Like, I mean, it never really stays, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
constantly evolving. My oldest with the car now and
Oh
the
gosh.
curfew. I was up where I'm up watching. We got this thing, Tammy, the Life 360 that you can track the kids.
Yes.
And I'm up at night watching I'm like, I can't go to sleep. I can't go to
Yes.
sleep. He's like, I'm 17. I should have a curfew of a midnight. I'm like, I can't stay up till midnight. He's like, you don't need to stay up. It's
Yeah.
great, it is what
Oh,
it is.
so did you used to say that to your parents? Like, why are you like, I'm going out. Why are you staying up? Like, I didn't get it. Like, go to sleep. I'm fine. But now as a parent, I'm like, yeah,
So do you know Janina Fisher? Do you know her, know of
I
her?
know of her. Yes.
Okay. So dear friend of ours. And so here's her, here is her tip to my husband and I. She's like, look, here's what I did. I set an alarm clock outside of my bedroom and I put it on for midnight. So the kids had to come home and shut the alarm clock
Good.
off.
That's good. Yeah.
Otherwise, if the alarm went off, then I know they weren't home. She's like, now, of course, they could shut it off and go back out, but it was at least one thing. And I was like, brilliant idea, Janina. Like, thank you. This is the way. She's like, I couldn't
Yes.
stay up.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
you might not still be able to stay up, but my guess is it'll soothe some of your parts that like if
right,
I do go to sleep,
right.
this alarm will
There's
go
this
off.
backup. There's a backup system, right? It's a little bit
Hmm.
of a backup
Hmm.
system. I know, too funny, but
I love
it's
it.
it's all good. These are good problems to have. That's the way I think about it.
I guess. Sounds
Mhm.
awful. I mean, my kid,
Well,
I'm just not going to let him have any friends.
well, but here's the other side. He, he's got so much joy being in the world. Like
Mm.
he's just so happy. He's got a car. He thinks it's the greatest thing. So there is this duality, right? The love of his expansive life and such joy for him, and the fear for my parts in my life. So it really is both. I mean, it really is. It was up to me. Stick
Basement.
right here, stay
Yeah.
right here, and
Yeah.
we'll have, just don't leave ever.
Yeah, totally. Well, I feel that same way about preschool. So, like, my
Yes,
kid, when he
yeah,
went to preschool, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I hate it. I
yeah,
was crying all the time. And
yes,
then one day I was walking out of the
yeah,
preschool and I saw one of the teachers, not even his teacher, up there doing like a preschool dance and song.
yes,
You know, these
yes,
poor teachers are the most amazing things ever. And she's doing this whole thing. And I started crying and I was like, what a beautiful thing for these kids to
yes,
be here. Because
yes.
I'm certainly not doing a song and doing hand motions to a song. I don't know any of that stuff. And that
Exactly.
was a moment that I was like, okay, this
Yeah.
is a good place for him to be.
Yeah. We're here to give them a life, right? And it's
I
good when we can
guess.
give them
I
a
don't
good
know.
life.
I don't know about that either.
Well, it's interesting because I was prohibited of my life with my parents. So I come from a different place, like who I was
Mhm.
wasn't okay. It wasn't okay to be me. Like I had so much of that oppression. So I do hold like I don't want to do that to them, even though so yeah, for me it's both. It is a combination. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about your book. And before
Mhm.
we talk about your book, though, I want to talk about how you feel about your book coming out and
Yeah,
all that's happened in the past couple of months with your book coming out. How are you
yeah.
doing?
You know what? I am, boy, how can I say it? It's a very interesting place that I'm in right now. It's a place that I'm kind of surprised by. This is going to be a silly little story, but my husband and I love all these like reality shows. We watch like American Idol, or we'll watch The Voice, or So You Think You Can Dance, right? And there's always these, you hear the judges say, oh, this one's ready. This one's not ready. Like this one's handling all that's coming up. And in this very bizarre way, I kind of feel ready for what's happening.
Mm.
So there's this calm excitement because I have been working on this book for over 4 years. And it's been this process that's been so important, so close, held close, close to my heart, my passion, my life's work. And so it's been this thing of mine, right? That I've been percolating on, I think, for a long time. And I'm really ready for the world to have it. Like I feel this like, okay, it is time. It's yours now. It's this release and this
Mm.
relief, which is beautiful because it's been this secret. Like when it's copyrighted material, you have to, can't show anybody. And there's all these rules around it. So for me, there's this huge relief, like, oh my gosh, the world can have it now. It's not mine anymore,
Mm.
right? I really feel that release. And I went for a run one day and it was really an unburdening. I have to tell you, it's like physiologic unburdening. I'm like, okay, world, it's here you go. It's yours. And it was such a wonderful feeling. So there's that piece. The other piece is the like accolades, the thank you. This is so wonderful. It's so helpful. This is touching me. Like all of that positive energy, I don't think I could have taken in before. I think it took me a lot of my own healing work to be able to receive all the positive energy that's coming back now, right?
Yeah.
You put something out in the world and then something comes back. So I'm I'm doing okay with it. It's a lot. That I will say. It is a lot. What went out and what's coming back in is a lot. But
It's a lot.
I feel I like, okay, it's time. I'm ready. I can do this. Like I'm ready
Yeah.
for the next step. Like I'm doing and that is the doing your work. Like that's the whole piece of IFS, right? That's the my my favorite piece of the book is trauma blocks love and love heals trauma,
Mm.
right? It's what the book is about in my view. And I'm living that. Like
Mm.
I've done so much healing work that I'm open. I'm open and ready for this now in a way that is surprising because
Yeah.
I think everything happens for a reason and in the right time, right?
Yeah.
So it's been an amazing couple months. I have to say that really an amazing couple months.
Can you talk a little bit about the parts of you that blocked the love, which I'm putting in
Yeah,
quotes? So, because hearing the accolades, I probably like you and like other people, I'm like, oh yeah, that's nice. Like, yeah, just yeah, I
yeah,
don't take it in. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or I do the thing where people say, oh, you have a nice shirt, and I say, oh, I got this at the thrift store. Da, da, da,
yeah,
da. You know what
yeah,
I mean? So I like to hear about the parts of you that blocked the love, blocked the
yeah,
accolades, blocked that. Would you have to talk about that?
totally. Yeah, absolutely. And that is a big piece of the book too, is talking about my personal trauma history. Like that was very important to me to share my healing journey as well as sharing the pearls of wisdom maybe around being a trauma therapist and a neuroscience person, right? So yeah, there was so this is what I'll say, like probably 5 years ago, there was a part of me that wanted the accolades. Oh, I want somebody to think I'm great, right? Very parts driven to compensate for those wounded parts, those traumatized parts that really felt unlovable and unworthy,
Yeah.
and I know I have that experience of, oh, I want to be liked.
Yeah.
Like
And
that
I just want
kind
to say,
of,
Frank, you're also moving, people can't see you, but you're moving forward, like your body's shifting forward.
oh,
Like, I
really?
want to
Yeah.
be liked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in
Yeah.
that parts way, right? That
Yes.
parts
Yes.
way. And so I have that. I wasn't even aware that that's what it was, but I had that kind of energy before. And the more rounds of healing, the more rounds of healing, the more rounds of healing. And it was kind of like the more I heal those exiles that are like really do feel worth love, worth goodness, it wasn't just that. So that was a big piece of it. Like, okay, I am worth it. I am valuable. Like, if
Mm.
somebody says, oh my God, you're an amazing teacher, I don't say, oh, thank you. Say, well, thank you. That really means a lot to me. Like, I could take it in. So there was the piece for sure that IFS teaches around healing the exiles. But interestingly enough, which surprised me, Tammy, was the protectors that were like, no, 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 no. If we take in praise, we will get killed. Like, it is dangerous because good is threatening to my abuser, right? So there was this whole protector layer, right? Around, oh my God, if somebody says something nice to me, that is so dangerous.
Yeah. To
So
your
they
inner
were,
abuser, to a part of you that was abusing you.
well,
Is that what
well,
you
it
mean?
was it was the parts that feared my real abuser
Okay.
as
Yes.
more than the intro. I mean, sure, I don't have much of that internal critic stuff.
Okay.
It's not, I don't, I mean, I have it when I'm a bad parent. I have a really harsh inner critic, but
Yeah.
not to myself so much. That
Okay.
system is not as active in me. It was more like younger protectors were terrified. If somebody said something nice to me, that's dangerous to him, kind
Gotcha.
of thing. Do you
Okay.
see what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
and that was,
Yes.
I did a lot of work with those protectors that were terrified of people shining light on me,
Yeah.
people valuing me. So it was a very, and I was really, I actually went back and edited a section of the book around the integration phase, working with protectors. I'm like, it's not like it happens in the demos, people, do the unburdening. And then the protectors are like, okay,
Did you
great, I
see
can go
that?
do
Yes, I
something
saw
else.
it. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
let's go do something else. It was months for my protectors to really see myself, to see that I can handle things, to let me handle the praise instead of the part that wanted it, right? And to see that I could handle it and not fall apart, and also not be threatened by it, right? Or afraid of it. So it was a
Or
very
afraid
like,
of that abuser, that
you
external
got
abuser
it.
was going to hurt you if you got the
Exactly.
praise.
So it was really like so much has gone into being able to receive, in a way that was surprising. I mean, this book was such a healing journey for me personally, obviously, as well as whatever impact or influence it can have on other people. Do you know what I mean? So I did
Yeah.
a lot of healing through this book, honestly, to
Yeah.
allow me to be like, okay, you love this? That's great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I have this like I'm here to make a difference.
Mm.
Like, I'm here to impact the world, and I'm going to do that, and that feels really good, and I've done the work necessary in order to be able to do that. I don't think I'm done, but I'm on that journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, because then you can you can do work to heal the world, but do it from a place of striving or
constantly
Yeah,
being triggered by people
yeah,
and,
yeah,
or yes, and
you
that would
got it.
feel totally different.
And I think a lot of people do that from that place, honestly. I think that's the, let me get, let me be famous, let me get a promotion, let me, be successful to counteract what's inside, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's very common. And I'm not, there's no judgment around that. It's just that I am gratefully and luckily doing it from a different place. I feel like I'm making an impact now because of the work that I've done from a different place. There was, I have to say, I was share this. We did this clubhouse thing, right?
Yep.
Which was fun. And then there was all this backlash on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Because of some comment by some person. And
I saw
it
that
was,
and I was confused.
well, but you know what? It was an important learning. It was really a learning lesson for me because of some person clearly got triggered by something that I said, and it was really about their parts. And there was all of this flurry of negativity, and I just was like, and I could have defended myself. They even misquote. They took stuff I said out of context. They did a lot of stuff around it, right? Okay,
Yeah.
fine. People are going to do that, right? People are going to do that, and I
made my face like, ooh, I'm cringing. Like I had
but
to
it would,
I had to
what,
get off of it because it was so upsetting.
yeah, but what I did, and it was what I did was speak from a healed place. I said, look, I'm here to help people. I'm here to, you know, as a lead trainer, as a trauma survivor, as somebody who cares, I'm here to help heal trauma. And you're allowed to have your opinion. It's really okay. I love you. Thanks for sharing. I'm here on this journey. And I really meant it. Like, it wasn't just a scripted thing. I'm like, okay, that's theirs. Here's mine. Let me just share mine.
Yeah.
And it really, in I think, a lovely way, had a positive impact on the person.
Yeah.
You know, that their parts were about their parts. And I'm like, I'm not here to be anything you need me to be or be anything you don't need me to be.
Right.
I'm me. Here's what I am. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was very useful because I know enough that with all the accolades are going to come criticisms and,
Yeah.
all negative things too. And I feel like you have to be able to be with that too.
Yeah.
And it was a
Yeah.
good, so was it for me, it was a good experience. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to stay true to my mission. I'm going to stay true to my heart. I'm going to stay true to healing and do whatever you want with that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, the other thing that's awesome that you're saying is that you're saying, I'm not up here on my pedestal as
Mm,
this leader, sort of putting out there, here's what you trauma survivors need to do.
yes.
Like, that's not what's happening.
Yeah. That is so not me. It's not my platform. It's not my soul. I am such a we person. Like, if you go to any of my workshops, honestly, it's kind of funny. I think people should put a stopwatch out, Tammy. Like, how long is it going to take him to say he's gay and he has a trauma history? Like, it's really, I swear to God, like, I just want to even the playing field
Yeah.
right away. Like, us people. Like, we're in this together. It's why I love questions when I do workshops. I'm like, join me. Let's do this together. Like, it's just kind of, I'm a very relational person, and I know a lot, and I'm grateful that I know a lot, but I'm not that. Like, it's a
Yeah.
we thing.
How is it when
Yeah.
you get it? I'm not saying that this is you
Yeah.
being
Go
accused
ahead.
of that, but my guess is you've probably been accused of that just being in a leadership role. And so, how is that for you when you're accused of that? Kind of being like on the
Oh,
pedestal of sort of like I'm up here in my
yeah.
knowing a lot Harvard education,
Yes.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard you kind of pick at that a little bit. Like, so what
Yeah.
happens when you're kind of accused of being that type of person?
You know what? It feels really inauthentic. It feels like there is no relationship. It doesn't feel mutual. It feels like you don't know me.
Yeah.
It feels very one sided in a way that is I'm gonna say really inauthentic. And so does the, oh my God, you're Frank Anderson? That feels just as inauthentic as, oh my God, you are Frank Anderson. You know what I mean? Like both
Yes.
of those, when they're really parts driven in other people, it's like there's no room for me here. Like
Mm,
I'm not here, right? And so
wow.
I don't feel connected.
Yeah.
And
Like I'm not here even in the like you're acting as if I'm a Beatles star. Like
yeah,
I'm not
that's
one of the
right.
Beatles. Like,
Yes.
yeah. I love
Like
it.
it's I have dear friends of mine, and I'm like, you guys, like Wayne Baker is one person, Libby Call's another person. Like I have my people. Just like, just let me be me, please.
Mm,
Let me be me. And they're like, don't worry, we're gonna let you be you. No problem here. But it's really important for me to be able to be me. Like I am very authentic when I teach. That's important. It's important because it's about connection and authenticity. And if people need to do something else with that, that's about them.
when it's
Either
something,
way.
yeah, and you're like, that's so not me. Like that's when someone
Yes.
says to me that I'm not a safe person. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so not me that
Yeah.
I'm,
Right.
you can say I'm a brat, like I'm a brat or I'm selfish or, there's sort of a whole list of things
Yeah.
you could say about me
Yes,
that I'd be like,
sure.
yeah, you're right. But
Yeah,
when you say that
that's
I'm
right.
like not safe or like you don't feel safe talking to me or something like
Yeah.
that, that's why I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's something's being missed here. That's about your part.
That's about you. It's not about me. And that is something, I remember years ago, I wasn't at this party, but Dick Schwartz told me about this. He's like, he went to a Halloween party as a projector screen. It's just like he put a big white screen
Oh
over
my
him. And I was
gosh.
like, I kind of get that. Like, and it's both. Like when they turn you into something super fantastic that isn't authentic also, or like, oh my God, you're so full of yourself and narcissistic or whatever. Like, well, no, like neither are me. So I love being seen and known, you
That's so
know?
interesting because, right, because you're saying I'm not even seen when they say they treat me like I'm one of the Beatles. I'm
Yeah,
not being seen then either. And so parts of
right.
me probably are like, ooh, I'm one of the Beatles. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But that's actually, I'm not being seen in that either.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It feels empty.
Mm,
That's what it feels like to me. And that's where I'm like, oh, thank you very much. Like it's like I'm where
mm,
there's no connection here.
yeah.
Somebody did this once to me in an elevator. I was at an IFS annual conference. They're like, oh, could I shake your hand? I'm like, yeah, like sure. Like this is pre-COVID, right? We were shaking hands. And she's like, oh my God, Dan Siegel shook this hand and I'm never gonna wash this hand. And I was like, okay, like what? Like, what is that? Like, that's not about Frank. It's
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
What an, thank you've been so, it wasn't like,
Right. One is seen, right? Frank, it's nice to meet you. You've really helped me write your
yes,
books. I've been your work. Like that
yeah.
feels seen, like, wow. The other
There's something
feels
that we could do
weird.
together here. There's a connection. The other is like, there's no connection to that. And so I'm okay with it. Like, I'm getting more comfortable. I guess I would say that. Like, I'm just getting more comfortable and I'll let people do what they need to do or what's about them. It's okay. Like, I'm not going to be mean about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't need to be mean about it. It's about them. I'm just going
Yeah.
to stay grounded and centered and doing what I love and having the impact that I can have on the world. Like what that's my lane.
So has Bessel read your book and what was his reaction?
Yeah, that was a big deal for me. I have to say that was really powerful because, um, I've known Bessel since 1992. I was the psychiatrist at the trauma center for him way back when. So we go way back and I'm still connected to him. We're in a supervision group that's been going on forever and ever and ever. So, and he's such a busy guy, and I'm like, Bessel, would you do an endorsement for this book? He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. He's like, Frank, do you know my whole life now is about endorsing books? And I was like, I'm sorry, Bessel. He's like, this is what I do for a living now. And he's like, I'm going to Hawaii for the month. It was like, right, probably in February, right after he got vaccinated. He's like, I'm going to Hawaii. I'll read it on the plane, and I'm like, okay, fine. So I sent him a pre-edited copy, and he was like, wow, this is an incredible book. I read so many of these books. This is really well done. Oh my gosh, Frank, like it was and his endorsement was like just from the heart. He's like, and that just meant a lot to me, like he's an important person. He's made such a huge impact in our field. And it was it was like a real authentic endorsement. He's like, this is an incredible book. It is really good. So I was thrilled with that, and also I would say with Dick's Forward, same thing. Like, both of these people are important, very important mentors to me in my life, and Dick's Forward was beautiful, it brought tears to my eyes. And I was like, wow, to get that authenticity, right, from both of them, what meant the world to me. It was kind of like, okay, how does the world see it? What impact will it have on the world? And what impact will it have on these people who are mentors, right? So that was very, like, I thought it was a great book, but to have them value it just was like affirming. I guess that would be the way to say it. It was like, oh, okay, this is not only what you think, Frank, like maybe other people think this too.
Right. Right. You're not just putting this thing out there and being like, I was good for me, but
yeah, I know. Sorry if y'all hated it. It's like that, So to get that authentic affirmation was beautiful. It was really beautiful. It felt great.
Yeah. What about your family?
Yeah, boy, what about them? Which dimensions of it? It's really interesting. What can I say? I can get emotional about this. What about my family? Like, it's the most integrated our family has ever been. Honestly, this pandemic, in a way, I almost feel guilty saying this. It was a godsend for us because it really pulled me back home. We've spent more time together as a family than ever. I didn't want the world to open up. I was kind of like, hesitant and reluctant, like, oh gosh, here we go again. And I'm really gonna try my best to not go back to what was in that way. Because I think for me personally, it was out of balance. I was doing a lot of work. And it's different. It's different now. So they're thriving in a way that's wonderful. And I feel more like integrated, that I could do the work and be with the family. It's a more true integration than working really hard to make it work.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they're all thriving. And the beautiful thing is my husband's now going back to school to finish his psychology degree and get a master's in psychology to integrate his spirituality work in that. So he's, I feel like everybody's benefited in this way. He's like, hey, I want to do some of this stuff too. And there's room and space for him now to do that. Because I'm home, like this past month, Tammy, I was in Portugal. I was in West Coast somewhere. I was in Canada. I'm going, Barcelona. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to Israel, all right from this little space. So I really am still traveling globally. And I just come home at dinner and we have lunch together. So it's really,
You just walk
beautiful.
downstairs. You're like,
Yes.
I was in Italy today.
Exactly. So it's really, it wouldn't have been that way before. I would have been this would have been a really busy travel stretch. I would have been here and there and everywhere. So yeah, my family's great. And it's great because of this hard stop and this shift that forced me. I don't think I would have done it without that, honestly. I
No.
really don't think I would have done it.
Did your husband read the book along the way, or did he read it when it was done?
It's interesting. He's a great writer and he's a great editor. And he started reading it and then he's like, I can't read this. I was like, okay, fine. Like, it was interesting. I think probably in some ways, it's really interesting. There's something about our relationship. Like it's funny. He listened but he helped me editing all the way through. It's like, he's like, because he's got a very critical eye around editing. And so I'm like, what about this? What about this? So don't get me wrong, he was super supportive, like no doubt. But it wasn't in the way of like reading the book in that way. That wasn't the way it worked for him. And we talk about my work, but it was fascinating because he listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast with Dick Schwartz. And that there was something about him being open to IFS from Dick versus from me that I kind of get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like your kids don't listen to you as a parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need to hear it from somebody else. So now that was really what he's like, oh my God, this work is amazing. Oh my God, I want to do this. I want to go back to school. I want to take level 1 training. So he's like more in than ever in a weird kind of way.
So
but
funny.
I just don't think it could have come from me in that way, if that makes sense, you know.
Totally
And
does. Yes.
I get it. And he helped me a lot, you know, with this sentence and this paragraph and this sentence, because I really value his input around that editing. So it was an interesting dynamic. And in a way, like, I think it did help him. Like, I really think my writing a book helped him say, hey, I want to do my thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, you do it, honey.
Yeah.
You go.
Right. To see you say, like, I want to do this thing, and then work your tail off, and then have it out there, have it produced this thing. Then he's like, wait, I can do something too.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And
then
know,
with you being home and the kids growing up, like all those pieces of it.
And that's like, honestly, I wrote this in the kind of my acknowledgement section of the book, is like, this relationship with my husband is the definition of relational healing. Like, I have gotten so much healing from being in this relationship with him. And he has given me so much, like so much. Sure, you want to write a book. Sure, you want to travel here. You know, I only want to give back. You know, that saying, it's like, oh my God, you want something? Yes, we will make it happen. You know, because he's just given so much in this way that I just naturally want to give back. So yeah, it was good.
I think
good.
that means that you're going to be the one doing the laundry and the dishes and the cooking while he's writing his master's papers.
Just exactly.
Right? And then you're going to be like,
got
wait a
it.
minute, what time is the kid going to be home? I got to go pick up the kid from school. That's going to be your role now.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I am really okay with that, because interestingly enough, in the beginning of our marriage, well, not in the beginning of our marriage, but in the beginning of having kids, you know, being a gay family, we didn't quite do it in the order because we weren't allowed to do it quite in that order, right? Like, we both worked 3 days a week in the beginning when we had our first kid. It's like, you work 3 days, I work 3 days. And then when we ended up with our second child with special needs, we made a family decision. I'll go full time, you take off, you know. So we have that history of, okay, you know, are you doing the laundry? I'll do the garbage, right?
Yeah, like that's what you're saying though, is your family has had to shift and change, and you guys have a beautiful relationship. So you've been able to do that together.
Yeah.
And whatever your family needed and whatever you both needed for yourselves too.
Exactly. And he's given me a lot around the ability to develop and foster this career. And I am going to give back, you know, and now it's easier with the way the world is.
Yes. Right. So it's not that you didn't want to give back. It's just that you've been busy and traveling all over these places and don't have the ability to.
Yeah, I didn't have the ability, and whether he didn't have the desire or the family structure was that there wasn't room for him. Do you know what I mean? It was probably a little both. And the kids are older now, right? And they're you know, they need us to be around, but they don't need that constant level of attention in the ways that they did before when they were younger.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Like my son was sitting at my feet this morning. Well, he's 10, so he was sitting at my feet because I was playing with the dog, let's be honest. And so I had already been like in the bedroom giving him kisses. And so I was standing up typing on, doing work on my computer, and he was at my feet. And I turned to him and I was like, good morning, baby. And he was like, I was waiting for you to say good morning to me. Okay.
That's great. That's great. Yes.
Like, are you going to continue sitting at my feet until I say good morning to you?
That's right. You can only hope. You can only hope.
Oh my gosh.
So true. So true.
So, what in the time, I know we only have a couple minutes left. What do you want people to know about this book? So one thing I want people to know that this book is for anyone. It's for therapists and for people that have been through trauma. It is for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's really important for people to know. And what else do you feel like you want people to know about your amazing book?
Yeah, it's a couple things. So one is, it is for everyone. It's, clinicians to learn about the model, for sure. It's an expansion of the model. There's a lot of expansion of the model as it relates to complex trauma, relational trauma. It's such a difficult journey for people as therapists, but also as survivors. So I wanted to get across, like, this is hard. This is difficult. This is complicated, and it can be done. There's the do your work piece that's so important for me. Like, really, the trauma blocks who we are. Trauma blocks our ability to love. Trauma blocks our ability to connect with people and with ourselves. And the more work you do, whether you're a therapist or a client, the more you can free yourself up to just be that authentic, aligned self, right? Authentic, aligned self. And it is love. It's love and connection that does the healing. Like, it's just the cycle in a way that is so important for me, is love heals the thing that trauma blocks, right? Over and over again. And the other piece, I just believe it. I feel it. I'm an example of it. And I want to share that with people. And I am moving into the general public. That's the other thing here, is this book is this transition, is what I will say, that I'm very committed to bringing this to the larger audience, to the general public. And I hope this book is a bridge to that, so that more and more people can read it. I think it's written in a way that's user friendly and easy to understand, so that you don't have to be a PhD psychologist to understand this book, right? I really wanted it to be
IFS to understand.
Yeah. So I'm really hoping to get that message out to the larger world.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. What are you doing this summer? Tell me a couple of fun things you're doing this summer.
Nothing. That's what I'm doing this summer. How about that? I mean, we're going on vacation. We're going to the Cape next week. We're going on vacation for the Cape, but really I'm doing nothing. It was a long.
Do you rent a house? Do you go boogie boarding?
Yes.
What do you do?
We rent a house. We love Truro, is right outside of Provincetown. It's one of our favorite towns. So we always go to Truro. We rent a house and we really hang out and do a whole lot of nothing. There's beach days, there's going out to dinner, reading books. It's very relaxed, and it's kind of the start of the summer.
Yes.
And then the rest of it's going to have a whole lot of nothing in it. We have a pool, and so we'll be hanging out at the pool, and I really was like, I am not doing anything this summer. I am not doing anything this summer. So it'll be relaxing.
Good. Well, thank you, Frank, for this. Thanks for meeting. I know your schedule's crazy, so I'm glad we were able to meet.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for providing this. Honestly, you're providing an amazing service for our community. So I really do appreciate you. And I was like reaching out. I'm like, hey, can we do this? Sure, no problem. So I really appreciate your availability. It's really great, and it is something that you're offering in a way that is helping our community grow. I mean, it really, really is. And this is a community that's growing in a big, big way right now. So thanks for what you do, for sure.
Thank you. And I'll take that in.
There you go. See if you can take it in. That's right.
I'll try.
Exactly.
Thanks for hanging out today. If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe. And if you really like this episode, share it with a friend and leave a review. You can follow me on Instagram at IFS Tammy and join our community on Facebook at the One Inside Podcast. Talk to you next time.